Welcome, beautiful, to the Creating Change podcast with Emma Bradford. Creating change to fall back in love with ourselves and life. Each episode, I'll be offering insightful stories, concepts, and practical takeaways to inspire your day, reconnecting to the authentic essence within. Are you ready, lovely, to embrace yourself even more and awaken to the magic life has to offer? Let's dive into today's episode. Hello and welcome to another episode of Creating Change with Emma Bradford. Thank you so much for being here and choosing this episode to listen to, joining me today for this very special topic, very important topic of self-acceptance. Now, I will read out an expansions message first, and then we'll dive into the topic. If you're not familiar with these expansions messages, these are messages that come through my own personal practice. So I set the intention to connect to that all-loving part within, the part that we all have, every single person has within, and just setting that intention to ask that part for answers, to ask it for guidance, to ask it for some wisdom in any challenging situation or experience that I'm currently going through at the time. So what I do is I just ask the question, like that all-loving part, what do I do about this? Or how can I resolve this? Or what do I need to learn about this? Like, what loving guidance can you offer me? Loving guidance for the highest possible good. I set that intention and then I write in my journal, and I write as unfiltered as I possibly can. Obviously, the ego can come in, though the intention is there to connect to that all-loving part and to write without thinking. It's almost as if it becomes automatic when I put pen to paper and I just write and the words come out. And I'm not really thinking about what I'm writing. And then when I go back to read what I've written, the messages really surprise me. Sometimes they're things that I know already, and it's a good reminder. And sometimes they're things that are completely new. And sometimes they are written in a way that doesn't sound like me talking, or it's using different words and phrases. And it's really, really helpful to have a different perspective on challenges. And these messages have been really helpful for me personally. And I thought, why not share them? And that's exactly what I've been doing. I've been sharing these on YouTube, sharing these on the podcast, and sharing them most of all in the monthly newsletter. So if you like these expansions messages, then do make sure that you're signed up to the newsletter to get your hands on even more messages before I share it anywhere else. So this message that I'm sharing today, I have shared on the newsletter already, though here you have the audio version of it, and it's a wonderful opportunity to hear the message again if you've heard it already, or perhaps you haven't. This is new. Hear it and really allow the words to sink in and integrate, and allow yourself to really reflect on what is the core message of this, and how does this reflect in my life, and how can I use this to move forward in life and to really embrace myself with even more love and acceptance. So I'll read the message out now. Look to the rose. Every petal makes up its form. Every thorn is part of its growth. See the bigger picture and things fall into place. Focus on one part only and you open up to misinterpretation and only half of the experience. This human experience is vast, expansive, with every possible manifestation. You are already in the multisensory surround sound experience. It's called life. And you are a beautiful expression of that life. So just take a moment to really reflect upon those words and notice how this wonderful image of the rose can teach us so much. Every rose is made up of all these different petals, all these different petals that are part of one thing, yet they're all individual. It's all the petals together that make up the form of the rose. And every thorn on the stem of the rose is part of its growth. It's part of it. Sometimes we see things that we don't like, or we see things about ourselves that we don't like, or we see things in life that we don't like, and we focus on it and we see it as a problem. And the critical mind loves to focus upon specifics and details and fixate upon that. It's almost as if it's closing in on one little thing, or seeing only something that's within this little box, forgetting that there's everything else beyond that, and that there are so many other things beyond that, that when we expand the perspective, we experience the whole experience, not the limited experience. Perfectionism has this sense of control, this energy of control, like wanting to control things, needing to have things perfect, avoiding anything that's challenging, anything that's considered not good enough or ugly. When we place an image upon a pedestal and we follow that blindly, we miss the full experience, the experience of everything. It's everything together that makes up that experience of the rose. It's the scent, it's every individual petal, it's the wholeness of all the petals together forming the rose. It's also the thorns on the stem, it's the leaves, it's everything that makes up that experience of the rose. And if we're only focused on one thing, if I'm only focused on the leaf, or I'm only focused on a thorn, I'm missing the beauty of that full experience of the rose. We were talking about this in a workshop with someone who was talking about perfectionism, and this came up. And I asked them, what about Sagrada Familia? Those who are not aware, Sagrada Familia is a very famous building in Barcelona, and it's been under construction since forever. It's still not complete. It's still being built. Yet, despite it being under construction, so many people still enjoy it. So many people benefit from its beauty. So many people go and visit it. Thousands and millions of people. It's one of the most popular tourist attractions in the country and in the world. And it's still not perfect. It's not complete. And it's a work in progress. When I mentioned this in the workshop, this was a wonderful light bulb moment and a wonderful metaphor for the person who'd been focusing upon perfectionism to look at and to reflect upon. And they said, wow, yes, life-changing. that metaphor, like just having that really simple example of Sagrada Familia that is not complete, it's not perfect, it's a work in progress, and it's still enjoyed and benefited from many people. It's still very successful. And this is the thing. We don't need to have everything perfect. We don't need to have everything completely pristine and free of imperfections. That would be missing the beauty of the full spectrum of light and shadow and the full spectrum of the experience. So when we start shifting this perspective of perfectionism and open up to self-acceptance of just what is right now and who we are right now, it can be a lot easier. It's like, okay, yes, I have habits, I have beliefs, I have all these different things, light and shadow. Perhaps there are things I like about myself and things that I don't, things that I find challenging, things that I find easy. Is a mix of all of that. I often use the metaphor of the puzzle. Human beings are like puzzles. We are made up of all these different pieces. And when we only focus upon one little piece, and especially when that's one little piece that we don't like, then we're missing the full experience of ourselves. We're missing the full experience of who we truly are, that we're made up of all these different things in the human experience. Obviously, at our very core, we are light. We are sparks of consciousness. Though in this human experience, we have an ego, we have a personality, and there are many different aspects to that. There are beliefs, there are values, there are habits, there are all these different things. And just taking a step back and noticing that, it's like, okay, yes, this is me. There are things I like and perhaps things I don't like. Though right now, right in this moment, it doesn't have to be forever, but right in this moment, I choose to be open to a little more self-acceptance. I choose to be open to seeing imperfections as great gateways to new gifts and new wonderful things that we can discover about ourselves and learn and grow. So to end today's episode, I will read once again, the expansions message. Look to the rose. Every petal makes up its form. Every thorn is part of its growth. See the bigger picture and things fall into place. Focus on one part only, and you open up to misinterpretations and only half of the experience. This human experience is vast, expansive, with every possible manifestation. You are already in the multisensory surround sound experience. It's called life. And you are a beautiful expression of that life. If we look at the world is made up of so much. If we look at nature, nature's made up of so much. There's every possible expression there. There are tiny flowers, big flowers, little insects and creatures, big animals, little trees, little leaves, tiny details, and also huge oak trees and giant redwood trees. There's everything. Cool, calm lakes, wild rivers, wild sea, volcanoes, everything. There's new life, there's death, there's everything in between. It's this beautiful cycle of transformation and energy, and there are all these different expressions of that life at every given stage. You are expression of that life. You are a beautiful expression of life. And everything that you are right now is absolutely perfect. Even if the mind thinks otherwise, you are exactly where you need to be. And if you're going through a challenging time, or if you feel stuck, or if you're in a particular situation that you need to make changes, that's okay. It doesn't mean that we just surrender and not do anything. It just means that we open up to accepting what is and open up to accepting who we are right now. When we see ourselves through the eyes of life, it's a lot easier to accept ourselves rather than focusing on surface level appearances or surface level traits of our personality. So I'll leave that there. Thank you so much for listening, for joining me today for this very special expansions episode. And if you enjoyed this, if you found this beneficial, please do share with a loved one. Share this podcast, spread the word, tag me on social media. Every single share makes such a difference. It really, really does. And also, these podcasts are not free to produce. They do cost me money to produce these podcasts episodes, and I offer them free to you because I feel that these are messages that everyone can benefit from. Though if you wish to support this podcast in continuing and also help it to grow and expand and evolve further, then feel free to make a donation if you wish. This is completely optional, though greatly appreciated. You can find the link in the description on the show notes, and there'll be a PayPal link there if that's what you choose to do. And if you don't want to make a donation, that's totally okay, though I do ask, please share this link with someone. And not only can you help them, support them, and spread the word further out into the world, you're also helping for this podcast to continue. Thank you so much. Wishing you a beautiful day, and I will connect with you next time. Much love. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, beautiful. You're amazing. All resources and links can be found on my website, www.emmabradford.net. Link is in the show description. Do come and join my community and share your takeaways from this episode. I'd really love to hear. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Until next time, I wonder, what magic will you experience in life today?